Praise the Lord and welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a topic that's probably familiar to most of us, family. I never thought that I would get on here and talk about my family or say anything um, in relationship to my family because um, it just, I had such a complex upbringing. But something happened to me yesterday. Yesterday was my birthday. And it was so profound that I have to get on here and share it with you because I know that, like myself, there's many of you who have problems, family problems, issues with brothers, sisters, parents, things that happen to you that you can't even speak about or don't want to speak about. But I'm going to share something with you in hopes that this will help somebody. I want you to uh, talk to God about it, and maybe you did, but I want to share this with you. And based on what I'm going to say, I want you to go back and have that conversation with God again. Okay. So, yesterday, on my birthday, my 62nd birthday, it was blessed. It was a blessed birthday because I got some gifts through my brother, my older brother, who I love with all my heart. I've always loved him. When I was a kid, I felt the closest to my brother Paul. And unbeknownst to him, I always wanted to be so close to him. I didn't get that wish. And many times I was hurt by it, but how was he supposed to know? I didn't tell him. But somehow you just think that you expect people to know. The fact that I called him, I would call at times and, I just thought he should know, but he didn't. But for years, I walked around with carrying a whole lot of weight, heavy weight, and it affected my relationships, the types of relationships I had with women, the types of relationships I had with men. It just affected it because I had the wrong, the wrong idea of how my family felt about me. More precisely, my mother. I walked around with this idea of that my mother didn't love me. I mean, I struggled with that to the point that I disconnected myself from her. I did. And I said something to her that was so horrific that if I could take it back, if I could go to the grave and whisper it through the dirt or through the air. I once told God to tell my mother I'm sorry. I told my mother that I wish she would die. I said, I can't wait till you die one day. And she turned red. She was looking through the window in her bedroom crying. She was already upset about something else. But I compounded that with that because I was so angry with a whole mountain of things that happened throughout my life. You know, I was a daddy's girl, and I walked around thinking that my mother didn't treat my father right. She wasn't right with him, you know, that she had an anger problem. But this all stemmed from because when I was a child, my mother had told me more than once, a few times, that she thought about throwing me in the East River when I was a baby. And my sister and my brother Joe joked with that stuff, you know, and it was terribly painful to me because I lived just a couple of blocks away from the East River in the river park. So that's why that was like it was all too real for me, even though it didn't happen. It was like I wasn't wanted from the onset. Well, listen, I was a change of life baby. She was 41 or 42 when she got pregnant with me, and she did not want a child, and she told me that. I wasn't wanted. And then growing up, I didn't have my own bedroom. My brothers had their room that they shared. My sister had her room. And when I asked my mom, why couldn't I share the room with Ann? She said, because I asked Ann and Ann didn't want it. She didn't want me touching her stuff. So I had to sleep in the living room on a secondhand sofa. I carried around. That made me think that my mother didn't love me. But you know when that changed? Yesterday. At 62 years old, y'all. Finally. You know who did this for me? God. He knew all this time that that wasn't true. But see, the reason why I brought you, the reason why I came on here, what I came to tell you was I was a child and I was looking through a child's eyes. And I perceived the way that I didn't have a bedroom of my own, not until my sister moved out. I was 16 then. I didn't have my own bedroom. I had my own bed to sleep in. Um, and then those things that were said to me by my sister and my mother, about wanting not wanting me and thinking about throwing, me in the river. And it was funny to my sister then, but nobody know the intrinsic or the internal damage that this had done mentally and emotionally with me. So I specifically made sure I moved out of Queens, away from my family, because I felt like although I was in that, I was born to my mother and father, I felt like I really wasn't part of that family. I walked around like that for years and years and years. And then yesterday, God, who had been listening to my thoughts about this and crying over this, even as a grown woman, somebody would say, girl, get over it. You've grown older and you've got your own kids and your mother must have loved you. I've heard all of that. But that didn't compute that way to me because as a child, I deduced in my mind that my mother didn't love me. And I walked around holding that all the way up to now. And you want to know how I found out that she didn't? God never said to me, well, I think he did say to me, but even though he said it, it was still hard for me to process. I just couldn't drink it into me. I couldn't, it, that I was carrying around had walked with me so long and had grown so big and it had become a foundation. As much as if you poured a foundation in a building, it would be very hard to break that foundation. You could, but it would be very hard. And so let me tell you how it was broken yesterday. God is so super, super smart and awesome. My brother sent me a gift. The gift was some pictures, old pictures of when I grew up, when I was a child, my mother when she was young, my father, just a lot of pictures. Uh, some of them I never saw before. And the ones that I did see, only a few I could recall because I had put so much of my childhood out of my mind because of the pain that I felt. The rejection. See, I took it as rejection as the fact that I didn't have a bed in my own room or couldn't share a room with my sister. What made her more important than me? But I knew I was a special person, a special child, because I had a gift that nobody could define. My sister saw it and knew it, but nobody could define it because we just didn't know. We wasn't in church like that to know. But let me tell you, yesterday, oh, it was gorgeous. It was a great day. I'll never forget the age of 62 on my birthday. My brother Paul called me and told me he said happy birthday. The one that was my favorite brother. Still is my favorite brother. I still love him so much. He reminds me so much of my dad. Well, even though I want to be closer with my brother, I really do. And it's just like, that is hurtful too, that I'm not. That we can't get to go places together every now and again or once a year or whatever. Maybe it's past that time. Maybe I should just let that dream go. But let me say this to you. He sent me some old pictures and he told me, "Oh, when you're gonna see these pictures, you're gonna cry. It's gonna make you, emotional." And it did. He wanted me to play this song, but I couldn't deal with the song because the song was too, the melody of it, and just the way that Stevie Wonder sings it it makes me sad. I can't deal with it. So anyhow, I'm just being real, y'all. I hope this is going to help somebody when I'm getting ready to say to you or what I'm saying. So he sends me these pictures, and it's late. It's like 11 something at night. And I'm tired, but I sit there with the pictures and I look through and I'm fascinated. But there was this one particular picture, more than one, but there was this one particular picture that broke that lie that I had been walking around, that it dissipated, it crushed the lie. That's why I want to tell you, no weapon formed against you is going to prosper. Even an intrinsic weapon will not prosper. Even an external weapon will not, because God will reveal the truth. Because of my relationship with God, God brought this blessing, brought this truth through my brother who didn't even know that that was what he was doing by giving me some pictures. There was a picture where it was my birthday. My mother had a birthday party for me every year. I always had a coconut cake. And I was a skinny little girl. Ha! Yeah, I'm trying to get back there, y'all. But nevertheless, she was looking at me. I looked at the picture. I said, "Oh, that's me with my cake. I remember that." But what I didn't remember was the way my mother was looking at me. She looked at me like she loved me. And it was in more than one picture. See, let me tell you something. You know what? They say a picture is better than 1,000 words. Maybe I'm not saying that exactly right, but it's more than 1,000 words, I think, a picture. That picture broke that foundational rejection and thought. And to see how she was looking at me like when you look at a child that you love so much, she was looking at me there that way when she was bathing me as a baby in this little basin. My mother, way younger, she was bathing me. She looked like she loved me then. I started seeing these pictures because guess what? I'm not seeing them as a child. I'm seeing them as a 62-year-old mature woman who is in Christ, who has wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and has God. Oh my goodness, He's wrapped all in me. I saw them through another set of eyes, and that changed. I was wrong. I was wrong all these years. Is it possible that you are wrong too? Because something happened to you as a child and your perception of it is off? Maybe that person did love you. Maybe the reason why my mother didn't get a bigger apartment in the projects is because she couldn't afford it. In fact, what bigger apartment it was, and there wasn't. We had a 5-room apartment, 5-room apartment. That's 3 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, living room. What more was she gonna get? Why didn't she let me in my sister's room with my sister when my sister was way older than me and my sister was my sister? I probably would have had it worse if I'd have been in that room with my sister. She probably was protecting me by not putting me in there because my sister would tease me and say things that was hurtful to me. Imagine what would have happened if I'd have been up in that room and it was a small room. My sister had a lot of stuff. So I could see why, you know, it was the way it was. I didn't have a bedroom. I didn't have my own bed, but they loved me. I had birthday parties every year. I had clothes that was I could buy from the store, from the J.C. Penney and Sears catalog. Y'all remember the Sears catalog, right? Orbacks in New York City, Gimbals. I was running down to all those stores on 34th Street. I'm talking about the 70s. I love the 70s. And I loved where I grew up at, meaning in Queensbridge. But it just was so hurtful. You know, I thought my mother didn't love me. I just did. Even though she washed all our clothes, she cooked for us, she cleaned for us, she was fiercely protective of us, made sure we went to school and got an education. She never told me she loved me. And so I took it as she didn't really love me. And I remember, you know, feeling rejected just all the time. There was never really no good time in that house. Not for me. But I was wrong. That's what I'm here to tell you. The Lord used my brother Paul, who didn't even know this, to show me the truth. That's why God said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. His name is the truth. He showed me the truth that my mother actually loved me very much. And it's more than one picture. There's a variety of pictures where I see, my mother is there and she's with us and she's there. Oh, it's just, I'm in more than one picture with her and I can see it and I'm going to put these pictures, have them blown up, put on the wall. And remember, for the rest of my life, I will know that my mother loved me. And you know what? That probably the same as for some of you guys who are watching this, that you have a memory of something and you took it one way. See, when you're a child, first of all, your frontal cortex, a part of your brain, is not fully developed until you're adult. Actually, I think you're 25 years old. So that's the decision making portion of your brain. You can make decisions. That's why you ought not to drop out of school, high school, because your brain isn't fully developed yet. That's why you should not drop out of college before you. No, I'm going to say before you're 25, because your brain is not fully developed, and you will make a permanent decision over a temporary situation sometimes. And then after the years go by, you're sorry. You wish you would have finished college. You wish you would have finished high school. I dropped out of high school. I went and took my GED and passed it like the year later, but that's not the point. I missed certain things that I would have learned. Then I went to college and, you know, first time I dropped out and then I went back and I finally got a master's in business administration and was on my way to my second degree in clinical psychology. But here's the thing, what I'm trying to say to you. You may have you may have a misconception or you may have the wrong idea of how someone that's real important to you feels about you. This is what I'm going to tell you to do so that you can find out the truth. If you can't bring yourself to ask that person, or if and then allow them to talk. If that person is maybe no longer with us or available to you, and even if they are, go to God. Ask God to reveal the truth to you. Tell them you want to know the truth. See it God's way. I didn't really, I just asked God if my mother loved me. He said she loved you, but it just didn't settle it for me. But those pictures did. And my brother, and if my brother sees this, thank you, Paul. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have done the world for me, and have given me probably the best gift I could have ever gotten. Well, I love all of y'all. Thank you for listening to me. You know what? By the way, if you like this, share this with somebody. Somebody else needs to hear this. Share it. Give me a thumbs up. And you know what? Subscribe. I got some other things that you probably want to hear. Lots of love to you. Talk to you soon. Bye.